for... so I want to talk about Luke Durbin a little bit. And Luke Durbin's case is... there's one where new information keeps coming out, which may lead us down another path. However, I do kind of like... I see echoes in this one, even the way he looks and everything with Alan Bryant a little bit. And I do think, like, with Luke... he may have been getting caught up with some stuff at the time when he went missing. If he was alive now, then he would be a completely different person. But we know at that age, at 19, we were all kind of fucking around a little bit. So CCTV images from the night a teenager disappeared in Ipswich have been released by police. So there have been more CCTV released by police. It was about 11 years after we went missing they released CCTV, and I don't understand that. So 19-year-old Luke Durbin from Ipswich came separated from friends in the early hours of the 12th of May of 2006. Now, I'm going to go into my own notes for this because online there are articles which we will refer to in a minute, thank you Pippin, about kind of new information about county lines and stuff, but I just want to give you the backstory myself. Because what was believed to be a case of a missing teenager, which on this year will be the 20th year, thank you Em, who may have gone away to find himself, according to police, which we all know isn't the case, turned into missing or murdered, and we're still at that point. So at the time, 19-year-old Luke's disappearance, thank you, Nanny, the town of Ipswich and the surrounding areas of Suffolk were filled with a lot of things going on at the time. So we had a lot of kind of sex work coming into the area around that time, a lot of drugs, a lot of like dealing of like weed and some coke as well. Now, Luke Durbin was from Hollesley in Suffolk and went for a night out with friends at the Zest nightclub, thank you, Gretz, in Ipswich on Thursday, May the 11th, 2006. Thank you, Christina. And he somehow becomes separated from them and disappeared in the very early hours of May the 12th, 2006. Thank you. So Luke was last seen wearing a black... Thank you, everyone. I'm just going to say thank you now. I'll get on with the case and I'll thank you at the end. He was last seen wearing a black, grey, long-sleeve collared shirt, a purple and grey, white stuffed T-shirt, tatty appearance, faded denim jeans with a motif on the thigh area and chocolate brown moccasin-type shoes. Now, when Luke failed to return overnight, the friends assumed he'd gone somewhere else or gone home to see his mum. So it wasn't until the Sunday later on the 13th, that police were called and he was reported missing when his mum said, like, this is out of character. Now, Luke had attended Farlingay High School in Woodbridge in Suffolk before signing up to study music technology at the Colchester Institute. However, he decided it was too far to travel and his life was getting a bit mucky at this point. So after a year, he gave up the course to go to full-time work. Now, what we see around this time... Thank you, Andrew. I'm going to be really, really respectful here, but I'm going to be honest because I don't think we can solve Luke's case until we put the truth out there. So it seems that Luke had become involved with some low-level dealing. So it seemed like it started with weed and it got to the point where it may have been a bit of sniff or coke, right? And it seemed to be only enough to have some himself and provide some for 3 or 4 friends, which we often see, right, in like 19-year-olds. So he was going through this period for a little time and maybe about 6 months, and he got involved with some characters like maybe that would be high risk people. Now, just before he went missing, he had pulled himself out of all that, it seems. He got a job at Greengrocers in Aldeburgh and he seemed really happy to have this job. And his case said, this is Luke Durbin from Ipswich, his boss said he was doing really, really well. And his grandparents have bought a brand new motorbike for him to get to and from work, and he was chuffed with this. And so around this time, he was finding his feet. So Luke's mum, Nikki, described him as handsome, funny, clever and popular, and she has vowed to never stop looking for her son. I was looking today because this is a picture of her when he went missing. And I covered Luke's case today actually because she came up on my feed on Facebook, and Mother just wants police to listen to her. Oh, I was absolutely heartbroken. Like, in the time he's been missing, his mum looked like this when he went missing, and now this is his mum. She's lived a whole life without her son. And that says the woman urging the police to please just listen to her. And I just thought, I'm going to put this into a video tomorrow, but I just thought she's been on every single missing person's podcast. She's been on every single show. Every time I see a YouTube video about Luke, I see in the comments, thank you for getting my son's case out there. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for remembering him. Thank you for... she's just truly always wanted people to listen. And what I found about Luke's mum is I found that she's always been very honest. Luke finished work on Thursday, the 11th of May, 2006. As usual, rode his motorcycle to his friend Alex's home in Woodbridge. He parked his motorcycle outside of Alex's home and left his crash helmet on the motorcycle, put his rucksack from work inside of Alex's home. And for some reason, and we don't know why, he left his mobile phone in his bag at Alex's house. So, for some reason he left his mobile phone, hey Sal, and he left all his other personal possessions in the backpack at Alex's home. Now, I don't know many young people that would go out for a night out and choose not to take their phone. Luke Durbin, missing from Ipswich for 19 years. Can you ever think of like a good reason why he would want to leave his mobile phone behind in his bag? It feels a bit strange to me, especially as we know later on Luke would find it hard to get home. Oh, good, thank you, Mrs. C. So I just don't know why. Unless he was someone... I do have a friend, actually, who every time he goes out drinking, he loses his mobile phone. Every time. And sometimes he can get it back. Sometimes he can't. Thank you, Kirsty. And I wonder if it's a very similar situation of just like, I haven't got a lot of money, I've got a mobile phone, I'm only going to lose it, I'm going to get a bit off my head, I'm going to be dancing. That's the only reason I can really think about it. Oh, his friend said no, he purposely put it inside his bag like he was aware of what he was doing. So Luke then set out with Alex and another friend called Zach and ended up at the then popular Zest nightclub. Alex decided to head home quite early, so Zach and Luke were together. And Zach said at some point he went to the toilet, he came back out, Luke was gone. And so Zach was just like, I'm just going to go home. He's obviously already left. Now we know that Luke tried to get the train home from Ipswich and he was sighted there in between 12:30 and 3 o'clock and no trains were coming till the morning. So one of the most heartbreaking part about this case is Luke then walked into town to the Hawk Express taxi office. And this is one of the things here that I think really is treated differently because they were dealing with a man and not a woman. So he was a 19-year-old boy, and I believe if they just treated him properly in this case, they would have saved his life. So he goes into the taxi office, he expresses he's got no money, Hayley wrote, and he wants to get home. Now, they say to him, we can't let you get a taxi, you've got no money. And he's like, if you just give me a lift home, I'll get you some money at home. They're like, no, you can call your mum though, and she can pay first for the taxi. And Luke says, I don't want to wake her up, she works really hard. So he chooses not to wake his mum up. And he'll never be seen again. So, and his mum has constantly pushed this thing like, I need all kids out there, all boys, all girls to know what I wouldn't have given for him to wake me up. Like, I just wish he'd woke me up, no matter what, because I haven't slept a night since. And it just breaks my heart because she always says, if only he'd phoned, I wouldn't have cared. I would have paid for it. I would have drove and gone and got him. I would have done anything to hold him in my arms again. And because like he didn't call me, I may never know what happened to him. Every parent would. Honestly, I always say to my girls, no matter what, just wake me up. Like, honestly, no matter how many hours sleep I've got, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to be okay, so I know you're okay anyway, so just call me. So the last confirmed sighting of Luke was at 4:11 after he left that taxi rank when he was seen crossing Doghead Street in the direction of the bus station. There was reported sightings of Luke in the weeks after his disappearance, but both in Ipswich and other places, but nothing was confirmed. Now, there was a really strange... I know, Julie, and I feel like if it was a girl who was 19, they maybe would have been aware of the risk factors. But I feel like because it was a young man, they're kind of like, on your way. And I feel like I don't have sons yet, I only have daughters, but I'm sure for some of you in here who have 18, 19-year-old sons, you're like, what? Why didn't they fucking help him? Like, sometimes boys can be in more danger than girls, because especially after a night out, people looking to fight and scrap and all this. And it just feels really unfair. So... there's a very curious silver or white Volvo 440 with false number plates driving around Ipswich on the early hour morning of that morning. The car was last seen passing Luke. I know, Megan, it's horrible, isn't it? It's so unfair. So the car, they've traced this car, they know what the car is, and they know it's false plates. So like they know in Ipswich at that morning that drove just past Luke, there was this car with this false plates. The registration was M206 LYE, and they haven't been able to trace this particular car because it doesn't match up with the registration. Police informed Nikki that on May the 13th, the day after Luke went missing, 3 different people reported seeing Luke alive and well in Woodbridge. All of them knew Luke and say that it was definitely him. However, he was in the back seat of a car with 2 black men either side of him in the car. And I'm only saying that because that's the description of the men. I would say 2 white men if it was 2 white men. And we don't know if that Volvo is connected to these 2 men. But Luke was in the back of the car between 2 men and someone else was driving. And there was also a sighting later that day towards London with Luke in the car. And it was a man who knew Luke from college and said it was definitely Luke. So that makes you think that maybe Luke owed some money, maybe that he got picked up. There's even reports that Luke was being kept alive in London on county lines for 18 months after he went missing. So in 2010 is the first time that a programme comes out and a review of a missing persons case. Thank you, Sophie. Thank you. Love you. I hope you're okay. This CCTV basically alludes to the fact that he has been dealing some coke. And they say that he's involved in the trade of cocaine, but they don't know how big. Now, his mum said this is the first time I'd ever heard that. She thought it was just weed. And that made her realise this could be a lot more serious than what she thought it was. She said, once you get involved in that, you're messing with the big boys. So that then alludes to the fact he's in the car, he's got 2 men either side of him, that this is more suspicious, right? Now, in 2012, police arrest 2 men, one on suspicion of murder and the other is suspicion of being concerned with murder. I've not heard of that before. And they both face no further action. So I want to go into an article now that, because there's hardly anything ever on Luke, right? But every now and again something comes up. And there is massive connections being made towards this county lines thing. And maybe him being alive in London for a while because people who knew him kind of saw a lot. So let me go to this article a second. Where is it? Is it this one? So missing Luke Durbin had a debt to county lines dealers. Okay, so it says here, and this was in 2020, 28th of April, and it's for BBC News. Thank you, Tixie. Thank you, Doi. A man who went missing almost 14 years ago was a drug dealer caught up in county lines. Luke Durbin was 19 when he headed out for the night out in, it's like joint, Hayley Concern. It's like joint enterprise, Hayley Concern. Oh, right, Concern, thank you. So it's like, yeah, okay. So you weren't the murderer, but you were there when it happened. Cool, thank you. Joint enterprise is one of my favourite laws. So it says, in the new Channel 5 documentary brought out in 2020, which was really worth watching actually, they suggest he may have come to Herm. Thank you, Shani. I was going to say Shani and Herm at the same time. He may have come to Herm for owning money, and it may have been that night that he purposely separated from his friends to go and sort something out. I don't know if you guys know, but quite often, even if you don't want to do that, you're stepping away from that life. Like he'd had this job with the greengrocers, you have a bevy and it's the first thought on your head. Like honestly, when I was growing up and I used to party all the time, as soon as I had a bevy, I'd be thinking about like, should we get wrecked? Should we do that? Should we do that? And I just always use my experience, to be honest with you. There's no point me lying about it. And it may be that at that point, when he'd had a drink, he'd been at Zest nightclub, he was feeling a bit brave. He thought, well, I'll just call him for a lay-on or whatever, and I'll just say to him, that money, I'm going to get it to you, mate. And he may have just thought it was worth it on that time. He'd already tried to get a train, he tried to get a bus, and he might have just thought, well, I'll give so-and-so a call from a phone box we don't know because we don't know where he was at a certain point. So the police have come forward in part of this documentary and say that they believe that he was involved in county lines, that he may have been taken in the Volvo, the one with the false plates, and it is likely that at that point they took him to work off the debt, and that's why he may have been spotted even around London, because he was being forced to work off a debt. However, it's now been 20 years this year and there's no sign of Luke. Thank you, Shani. So did they let him work off debt and then get rid of his body? Do you know what I mean? Did they make him work off debt in ways that were so demeaning to him that he's still out there alive and ashamed to come home to his mum? You know, a bit like with the Amy Bradley case missed off the cruise ship. We think she's been so horrifically trafficked, raped and abused and now has children in the situation that she would never come home to her parents and say, hey, look at me now, because she feels worried. Now, if they've said to Luke, like, you know, you're in this now, and if anything happens, like you'll go for your mum, he may just feel like I can't come home. But to me, there's much more chance that he's no longer with us. Thank you everyone for the gifts. Thank you so much. That's all we really kind of really have with Luke Durbin. We know that a couple of people have been arrested. Now I'm going to give you guys some things that were happening in the UK that week, just to jog people's memories from the Ipswich area of like what you saw that weekend, because it's been that long. It was Niles Barkley was number 1 in the UK with I Think You're Crazy. Joe Royal left as manager of Ipswich Town, so people that locally might know that. The Da Vinci Code film was about to premiere in the UK with Leonardo DiCaprio. Liverpool FC won the FA Cup against West Ham United, with Steven Gerrard scoring the equaliser. So those things, especially with men, maybe will absolutely make you think like, oh, that's what I was doing that time. So we really just don't have anything else. I think one of the last footage of Luke is him crossing the road here in this footage, which is just a really sad, lonely figure up here. He's here. You can just see him like crossing the road. And here's where we are today. We have no further kind of explanation to what happened to him. 19, Tasha, and this year, he'd be 39 this year. And his mum has just never given up. There's